Cancel your daughter's recital, or you're done here.
She's got a recital Saturday. Her first. I promised her.
You want me to tell a $3 million client to reschedule around a kid's dance recital?
I want you to understand that I made a promise.
You made a promise to me first, 9 years ago. It was called a job. I'll have Dana walk them through it. But I won't miss my daughter's recital. Show up Saturday, or start looking somewhere else. I understand.
The rain came down in sheets against the warehouse windows the night Marcus Bell gave Caleb Turner an ultimatum, and Caleb would remember, for the rest of his life, the exact sound it made, like fingers drumming on a coffin lid. He was standing in the glass office above the loading floor, phone pressed hot against his ear, and his boss was saying the words slow, the way a man sharpens a knife, slow. Cancel your daughter's recital, or you're done here. Just like that. As if a 6-year-old's one night on a stage were a line item he could strike from a budget. And Caleb looked down at the drawing taped to his desk lamp. A crayon girl in a purple dress, a stick figure man beside her holding a stick figure hand, and something in his chest went very, very quiet. He did not answer right away. That was the thing about Caleb. He never answered right away. His name was Caleb Turner, and he was 34 years old, and for 4 years he had been both mother and father to a girl named Lily. His wife, Rose, had died on a Tuesday in the spring, in a hospital that smelled of bleach and cut flowers, and she had made him promise 2 things before the machines went quiet. She made him promise to keep the porch light on so Lily would never come home to a dark house, and she made him promise that whatever else the world took, he would not miss the moments. Those were her words. Don't miss the moments, Caleb. The rest is just noise. He had kept the porch light on for 4 years. Every single night, he had learned to braid hair with clumsy, careful fingers, watching a video on his phone at the kitchen table at 6 in the morning, until he could do it without looking. He had learned which songs Lily needed when she woke crying, and which silences she needed when she didn't. He had learned to be enough. Most nights he wasn't sure he was, but he tried, and the trying was the whole of him. He worked at Bell Freight and Logistics, in a gray warehouse on the edge of town, where the trucks came and went at all hours, and the coffee tasted like the bottom of a kettle. Caleb was a logistics supervisor, which meant he was the man who made the impossible fit into the schedule. When a shipment went wrong at 2 in the morning, they called Caleb. When a client threatened to walk, they sent Caleb. He was good. Quietly, unshowily good. The kind of good that a company leans on without ever thanking. 9 years he had given them. 9 years of early mornings and late nights, and holidays covered so other men could go home. And above him sat Marcus Bell. Marcus was the director now, though everyone knew he had gotten there by climbing over people rather than beside them. He was younger than the position deserved, and hungrier than the job required. A man who measured his own worth in the fear he could put into a room. He drove a car that cost more than Caleb made in a year, and he made sure everyone knew it. He had a way of asking questions that were not questions, a way of giving orders, as though the person receiving them were furniture. To Marcus, people were resources, and resources existed to be spent. The trouble began 3 days before the recital. There was a client, the biggest the company had, an account named Harmon Distribution that made up nearly a third of the yearly revenue, and the account was slipping. Harmon had gone quiet, emails unanswered, a shipment delayed twice, and Marcus, who had promised the board he would grow that account into the crown of his career, felt the floor tilting under his polished shoes. He needed a save. He needed a man who could pull a miracle out of a wet warehouse at the last hour. He needed Caleb. So Marcus called him into the glass office on a Thursday afternoon, rain smearing the windows, and he laid it out the way generals lay out maps. Harmon wants a full logistics overhaul presented Saturday evening. Saturday, 7 o'clock. The whole team, and you, Caleb, you're going to lead it, because you're the only one who understands their operation well enough to keep them. Caleb had felt his stomach drop before Marcus even finished. because Saturday at 7 o'clock was Lily's recital, her first one. 6 months she had practiced a small, clumsy dance in a purple dress, in front of the mirror, in the kitchen, on the porch under the light Rose had asked him to keep burning. 6 months of counting steps out loud. And every night before bed she asked him the same thing. The way children ask the thing that matters most, as though it might disappear if they don't hold it down with words. "You're going to be there, right, Daddy? Front row?" And every night he said the same thing back. "Front row, Lilybug. Wild horses couldn't keep me away." He told Marcus this, not all of it, just the shape of it. "My daughter has a recital Saturday night. It's her first. I promised her. Can we move the presentation to Sunday or earlier in the day?" Marcus looked at him the way a man looks at a chair that has spoken. "Harmon set the time," Marcus said. "Not me. You want me to tell a $3 million client to reschedule around a kid's dance recital?" "I want you to understand that I made a promise," Caleb said quietly. "You made a promise to me first, 9 years ago. It was called a job. And there it was, the whole of Marcus Bell in one sentence." Caleb stood in that office and felt the old familiar tiredness settle over him, the tiredness of a man who has spent years being reasonable with people who mistake his patience for weakness. He did not raise his voice. He had learned, since Rose, that the loudest thing a man can do is stay calm. "I'll prepare the whole presentation," Caleb said. "Every number, every slide, every contingency. I'll have Dana walk them through it. She's ready. She's sharp. She knows the account almost as well as I do. I'll be on the phone the entire time if anything goes sideways, but I will not miss my daughter's recital." Marcus leaned back in his chair. Outside, the rain kept drumming. "Dana isn't you," Marcus said. "Harmon asked for you by name. You show up Saturday, or you can start looking for somewhere else that'll pay you to leave early for dance recitals." The words hung in the air. Cancel it, or you're done. And Caleb thought of a great many things in that moment. He thought of the mortgage. He thought of Lily's shoes, which she had already grown out of twice this year. He thought of the small orange envelope in the kitchen drawer where he kept the emergency money, and how thin it had gotten. He thought of what it would mean to be a 34-year-old single father with no job in a town this size. The fear was real. The fear was a live thing with teeth. But underneath the fear, quieter and older and far stronger, the rest is just noise. "I understand," Caleb said, and he turned and walked out of the glass office, down the metal stairs, across the loading floor, past the men who wouldn't meet his eyes because they'd heard the whole thing through the thin walls. He clocked out. He drove home in the rain with the wipers going and his jaw set, and he did not cry, because he had promised himself years ago that Lily would never see the salt on his face. She was at the kitchen table when he came in, tongue poking out of the corner of her mouth, crayons scattered like fallen leaves. The porch light glowed behind him through the door glass, steady as a heartbeat. "Daddy," she said, holding up a fresh drawing. "It's you and me at my dance. See, that's you clapping. Your arms are big because you clap loud." Caleb took the drawing in both hands like it was made of glass. A crayon girl in a purple dress, a stick figure man with arms flung wide, clapping loud, and above them, in wobbling letters she'd only just learned to make, she had written, "My dad came." He had to turn toward the sink for a moment, ran the water like he needed it, let it run over his hands. "That's the best picture anybody ever made," he said when he could. "I'm going to keep it forever. You have to clap the loudest," she told him seriously. "Lilybug," he said. "They're going to hear me in the next town." That night, after she was asleep, after he had checked the porch light twice out of habit, Caleb sat at the kitchen table with the orange envelope and the drawing side by side, and he did the math a man does when the world has asked him to choose between his child and his paycheck. He counted what was in the envelope, $640. He counted the days it would last. He thought about the reference Marcus would refuse to give him, the phone calls that wouldn't get returned, and then he looked at the crayon girl in her purple dress, and he folded the math up and put it away, because some equations aren't meant to be solved, they're meant to be refused. He would go to the recital, whatever it cost. If you've ever had to choose between the thing that pays your bills and the thing that makes your life worth living, then you already know the weight Caleb carried up those stairs that night. Stay with him. It gets harder before it gets better, but it does get better. The next 2 days, Caleb worked like a man building an ark before a flood. He knew Marcus. He knew that spite made Marcus careless, and pride made him cruel, and that if the presentation failed, Marcus would find a way to lay it at Caleb's feet, whether Caleb was in the room or not. So Caleb built it airtight. He worked through both lunches and stayed until the cleaning crew came. He assembled every figure, every projection, every fallback plan, and he sat with Dana, a quiet, careful woman 2 years younger than him, whose competence the company had never rewarded, and he walked her through all of it. Twice. 3 times. He wrote her notes in the margins in his small square handwriting. He gave her his cell number and told her to call for anything, any hour, and he meant it. "You're really not going to be there," Dana said, on Friday evening, half astonished. "For Harmon, you know what Marcus'll do." "I know exactly what he'll do," Caleb said. He was packing his bag. Through the office glass, the rain had come back, streaking silver down the dark. "But my little girl practiced a dance for 6 months, Dana, and she asks me every night if I'll be there. I've told her yes every night. If I break that promise to save a job, then the job isn't worth what I'd have to become to keep it." Dana was quiet a moment. "Rose would be proud of you," she said. She had known Rose, a little. Everyone had liked Rose. Caleb's hands paused on the zipper. "Rose is the one who taught me," he said, and he slung the bag over his shoulder and went home to his daughter. Marcus found out Friday night that Caleb had prepped Dana to run the show. He called Caleb's cell at 9 o'clock. Caleb was on the porch, watching the rain come down past the light, a mug of coffee going cold in his hands. "You think you're clever," Marcus said. No greeting, his voice tight as wire. "You think you can hand this off, and I'll just let it slide." "I think Dana can run it better than half the men you'd trust with it," Caleb said. "I think you'll be fine. I think Harmon will stay if the work is good, and the work is good, because I made it good. If Harmon walks, it's on you." "If Harmon walks," Caleb said slowly, "it'll be because someone made a decision without asking one more question. But it won't be me." He didn't fully understand his own words when he said them. He would, later. Some truths arrive before we're ready to read them. Marcus hung up on him. Caleb finished his cold coffee in the rain and went inside and checked on Lily, who slept with the crayon drawing on the nightstand where she could see it when she woke. Saturday came gray and washed. It rained all morning, that steady spring rain that makes the whole world smell like turned earth and wet stone. Lily woke at dawn, too excited to eat, and Caleb made her eat anyway. Half a piece of toast, a few slices of apple, because a body needs fuel even on the biggest days. He braided her hair the way Rose used to, 2 braids, a little uneven, and Lily didn't mind, because Daddy's braids were Daddy's braids, and that was its own kind of right. She put on the purple dress. She twirled in it in the kitchen while the rain came down outside, and Caleb stood in the doorway and watched her, and thought his chest might crack straight open from the fullness of it. "Do I look like a real dancer?" she asked. "You look," Caleb said, "like the best thing I ever did." At the same hour, across town, Marcus Bell arrived at the warehouse office in a foul temper and a suit that cost too much. The Harmon presentation was set for 7. He had convinced himself that Caleb's absence was a personal insult, a mutiny, a thing that had to be answered. What he had not done, what Marcus never did, was ask one more question. He had not asked what Harmon actually wanted. He had not asked why the account had gone quiet. He had assumed, as powerful men assume, that the problem was a problem of effort, and that effort could be squeezed out of people the way water is wrung from a rag. But the problem with Harmon distribution was not effort. It never had been. Here is what Caleb knew, and what Marcus had never bothered to learn, because learning it would have required him to ask one more question of a man he considered beneath him. Harmon had gone quiet because Harmon's owner, an old-fashioned man named Walter Harmon, who had built his company from a single truck, had grown tired of being treated like a number. He had told Caleb so, months ago, in a phone call at the end of a long day, the kind of unguarded thing men say when they trust the person listening. "I don't want a slicker pitch, Caleb. I want to work with people who show up like people. Your director sends me spreadsheets. You send me straight answers. Walter Harmon had not gone quiet because the deal was too small. He had gone quiet because he was deciding whether the people at Bell Freight were the kind of people he wanted to hand his life's work to. And the thing that would decide it, the only thing, was character. Whether the company was run by people who kept their word, people who showed up like people. Caleb had put all of this in his notes for Dana. He had underlined it twice. Lead with the relationship, he'd written. Walter doesn't want to be sold to. He wants to be understood. But Marcus, when he saw Caleb wouldn't be there, had taken over the presentation himself in a fit of pride. And Marcus did not read other people's notes. Marcus believed in the pitch, in the numbers, in the shine. At 6:30, Caleb and Lily arrived at the community hall where the recital would be held. The rain had softened to a drizzle. Inside it was warm and bright and loud with the particular chaos of small children and folding chairs, mothers fixing hair, fathers fumbling with cameras. Caleb walked Lily to the little backstage area and knelt down in front of her, and he could feel her trembling, that whole body tremble of a child standing at the edge of the biggest thing they've ever done. "I'm scared, Daddy," she whispered. "What if I forget the steps? What if everybody's looking?" Caleb took both her small hands in his big ones. "Lilybug, listen to me. You know what I want you to do when you get out there? I want you to find me. I'll be in the front row, right in the middle. And when you're scared, you look at me. And I'll be looking right back. You won't be alone up there. Not for 1 second. Because I came. I came just for you. Do you promise?" "I promised," he said. "And your daddy keeps his promises. Every one." She threw her arms around his neck and held on, and he held her, and for a moment, neither of them let go. Then a teacher came to gather the children, and Lily went, looking back over her shoulder the whole way. And Caleb went and found his seat in the front row, right in the middle, and he sat with the crayon drawing folded in his breast pocket, over his heart, where he'd carried it all day. His phone buzzed. "Dana." He stepped into the hallway. "It's going bad," Dana said, her voice low and tight. "Marcus took over the whole thing. He won't let me talk. He's hammering them with numbers. Caleb, page after page, and Mr. Harmon's face keeps closing up more and more. I tried to bring up the relationship stuff from your notes, and Marcus cut me off in front of everyone. Mr. Harmon just asked to take a break. I think he's about to walk." Caleb closed his eyes. He could see the whole thing playing out in the glass office with the rain streaking the windows. He could see Walter Harmon, tired and unimpressed, being sold to instead of spoken to. He could fix it. He knew he could. 10 minutes on the phone, the right words, and he might save the account, save the year, save his own standing. And through the double doors, the recital music began to swell. The lights were going down. Somewhere behind that curtain, a little girl in a purple dress was standing on her mark. And any second now, she was going to look for her daddy in the front row, right in the middle. Caleb looked at the phone. He looked at the doors. "Dana," he said, "listen to me carefully, because I'm only going to say it once, and then I'm turning this phone off. Everything Walter Harmon needs to hear is in my notes, in the blue folder, pages 4 and 5. Don't sell him. Talk to him. Ask him about his first truck. Ask him what he's afraid of losing. And when Marcus tries to cut you off, you tell him, quietly, respectfully, that Mr. Harmon asked to hear from you. Then you keep talking. You're better than you know, Dana. I've watched you. Now go save it. I have to go be a father. Caleb, that's all I ask," he said gently. And he turned off his phone and put it in his pocket, next to the drawing, and he went back through the doors and took his seat as the curtain rose. The children came out in a wobbling line, and there she was, third from the left, the purple dress, the 2 uneven braids. And Caleb watched his daughter's eyes go wide with terror as she faced the crowd, watched her scan the front row, frantic, searching, and then find him. Find her father, sitting exactly where he said he'd be, right in the middle, his face already breaking into the biggest, proudest, most foolish grin a man ever wore. And the fear drained out of her small body all at once. Her shoulders dropped, her chin came up. She smiled at him, only at him, and then the music lifted and she began to dance. She was not the best dancer on that stage. She missed a step near the beginning and had to hurry to catch up, and once she turned the wrong way and giggled and turned back. But Caleb watched her the way other men watch the thing they love most in the world, with his whole heart out in the open, and every time she looked to him he was there, nodding, clapping, mouthing, that's it, my girl." And when the dance ended and the children took their small bows, Caleb Turner stood up in the front row and he clapped so loud they probably did hear it in the next town. And Lily found him standing there, arms flung wide, clapping loudest of all. Exactly like the crayon drawing, exactly like she'd made him promise. And she beamed at him with a joy so pure it could have lit the whole dark spring. That was the moment. That was the moment Rose had told him not to miss. And he hadn't. He'd chosen it over everything. And he would never, as long as he lived, regret it. Afterward, there was juice in paper cups and cookies on a folding table. And Lily wore her little participation ribbon like a medal of honor, showing it to everyone who'd hold still, telling each of them, "My dad came. He clapped the loudest. Did you hear him?" And Caleb stood at the edge of it all with his cold cup of juice, tired and light, and strangely at peace, a man who had just quite possibly thrown away his job, and who could not for the life of him bring himself to be sorry. If this story is settling into your chest the way it's settling into mine, then you know why we make them. Stories like this are told for the fathers who show up, and the mothers who show up, and everyone who ever chose a small true moment over a large false one. If it's staying with you, stay with us a little longer. The best part is still coming. Marcus called 9 times that night. Caleb didn't answer any of them. He carried Lily to bed asleep in his arms, the ribbon still clutched in her fist, and he sat on the edge of her bed a while and watched her breathe. And then he went out to the porch and turned to make sure the light was on. And it was, steady and warm against the wet dark. Only then alone did he let the fear come back. Because now the recital was over, and the bills were still real, and a man had told him to his face that he'd be done. He turned his phone on, 9 missed calls from Marcus, and 1 voicemail, left at 9:40, from a number he didn't recognize. He played it, and a rough, unhurried old voice filled the porch. "Caleb, this is Walter Harmon. I don't imagine you expected to hear from me tonight. I understand you weren't at the meeting. I understand you had somewhere more important to be. Well, I'll tell you what. A young woman named Dana sat across from me for an hour, and she didn't sell me a single thing. She talked to me, asked about my first truck. A '78 Ford, since you're wondering, cost me everything I had, and half of what I didn't. And somewhere in that hour, I figured out something. I don't much care about the fanciest pitch. I care whether a company is run by people who show up like people. And I did some asking around about you tonight, Caleb Turner. About the kind of man who'd walk away from a make-or-break meeting to go watch his little girl dance. That's the kind of man I want handling my life's work. Not the fella in the expensive suit who wouldn't let anybody else get a word in. So here's where I stand. I'm staying with Bell Freight, but on one condition, and it's not a small one. You call me Monday. We'll talk." The message ended. Caleb sat down slowly on the porch step, in the drizzle, and stared out at the rain-shined street. And for a long moment he did not move at all. Monday came clear and washed clean, the way the world sometimes is after long rain. Caleb went into work not knowing if he still had a job, only knowing he had to look Marcus in the eye either way. The warehouse was buzzing before he even reached the stairs. Something had happened. You could feel it in the way the men glanced at each other. Dana caught him at the bottom of the metal steps, her eyes red like she hadn't slept, and she gripped his arm. "It all came out," she whispered. Over the weekend, 2 other clients called the board directly. Turns out Marcus has been running everyone the way he ran you. Orders, threats, no listening. Coalfield Freight and the Danvers account both said the same thing. They were staying with the company because of you, Caleb. When word got around that Marcus tried to force you out over your daughter's recital, Coalfield told the board flat out, "If Caleb goes, we go." And then Harmon called the chairman himself this morning. The board met at 7. Marcus is up in that office right now clearing out his desk. Caleb climbed the stairs slowly, and through the glass he saw it. Marcus Bell, the ambitious director, the man who measured his worth in the fear he could inflict, packing a cardboard box with the small, shamed movements of a man whose whole tower had come down in a single weekend. The morning light came in clean and showed everything. Marcus looked up and saw Caleb in the doorway. For a moment, neither man spoke. All the old power had drained out of the room and left only two men, one leaving and one staying, and the space between them. "They're giving me your job," Caleb said quietly. It wasn't a boast. It was almost an apology. "I know," Marcus said. "Harmon, Coalfield, Danvers, all of them, over a weekend. Because you went to a dance recital." He laughed, but there was no meanness left in it, only a kind of hollow wonder. "I spent 9 years thinking the way to win was to squeeze harder, and you win it all by going home to your kid. I don't understand it." Caleb looked at him. This man who had tried to make him choose between his child and his living, and found he had no anger left, only something quieter and sadder. "You never asked one more question, Marcus," he said. "Not one." Marcus stood there, holding his cardboard box in the clean morning light, and something moved behind his eyes, not quite understanding, but the very first crack where understanding gets in. He didn't answer. There wasn't anything to say. He picked up the box and walked past Caleb, out the door, down the metal stairs, across the loading floor where the men watched him go in silence, and out into the washed clean morning. And that was the last Caleb ever saw of Marcus Bell. The board offered Caleb the director's position that same afternoon. Higher title, higher pay, the glass office with his name going on the door. It was everything a man in his position was supposed to want. The reward at the end of the story, the good coming round at last. And Caleb sat in that glass office with the offer in front of him, and he thought about it long and hard. Then he thought about a purple dress twirling in a kitchen. He thought about 6 in the morning at the table with a phone propped up, learning to braid. He thought about the porch light, and the promise, and the crayon words, "My dad came." And he thought about what the director's job would actually cost. The late nights, the weekend meetings, the phone that never stopped, the moments he would miss, the very moments he'd just proven he would give up anything not to miss. The chairman, an older man named Prescott, who had watched the whole weekend unfold, sat across from him and waited. "I'm grateful," Caleb said finally. "More than I can say, but I'm going to decline the director's position." Prescott's eyebrows rose. "Son, this is what everyone spends their whole life climbing toward." "I know what it looks like," Caleb said, "but I've watched what that chair does to a man. I watched it do it to Marcus, and I'm not sure it started with Marcus." He paused. "That job takes every night and every weekend and every recital. It gives you money and a title back for them. And I've got a little girl at home who asks me every night if I'm going to be there. I want to keep telling her yes." He folded his hands on the desk. "Here's what I'd take, though, if you'll hear a counteroffer. Let me stay a supervisor. Give the director's job to Dana. She earned it this weekend more than anyone, and she'll do it right, because she knows how to listen. Give me a fair raise for keeping the accounts I keep, and let me be home by 6 most nights. Do that, and I'll give this company the best years of my life, and I'll mean it." Prescott studied him for a long moment. Then something in the old man's face softened, the way a face softens when it recognizes something it had almost forgotten was possible. "You know," Prescott said, "in 40 years I don't think anybody's ever turned down that chair to be home by 6. He stood and put out his hand. "Dana gets the directorship. You get your raise, your accounts, and your evenings. And Caleb, the company's better for having a man in it who knows what he won't sell. Don't ever let anybody talk you out of that." They shook hands. Outside the glass, the loading floor hummed with its ordinary work, and the sun came slanting in where the rain had been. Caleb went home that evening at 6 o'clock, the way he would go home at 6 o'clock for years to come. The porch light was on, steady and warm, the way it had been every night for 4 years, and would be for many years more. Lily met him at the door, ribbon from the recital pinned proudly to her shirt, though the recital was days gone now, because she was not ready to be done with the best night of her life.
"Daddy, did you have a good day at work?"
Caleb scooped her up. She was getting bigger. Soon he wouldn't be able to do this. Another moment he wasn't going to miss. "I had the best day, Lilybug," he said. How about you draw me a picture while I make dinner, and you can tell me all about yours?" She wriggled down and ran for her crayons. And later, at the kitchen table, with something simmering on the stove and the last light going gold in the window, she slid a fresh drawing across to him, a stick figure man and a crayon girl, holding hands, and above them, in her wobbling careful letters, "My dad stayed." Caleb held it. He read it again. He didn't need a metaphor the second time. He only needed to keep it, the way he'd kept everyone before it, in the drawer that held a whole childhood he had refused to trade away. He taped the new drawing to the refrigerator, next to all the others, and he went to set the table for two. Outside, the porch light glowed against the coming dark, steady as a heartbeat, keeping its old and simple promise, that no matter how far the world tried to pull him, this little girl would never, ever come home to a dark house. These stories are made with love. If this one stayed with you, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to be reminded what really matters. That is all I ask.